Back in 2015, Adobe released Lightroom CC. Now they've updated to Lightroom 2017 CC Classic flavor. There's been a couple of complaints with regards to the new CC, is it's all cloud-based, which has got no real place within sort of professional photographer's workflow. This we're going to take a look and see how Classic CC is looking compared to the original Adobe CC. This is getting quite confusing. We'll take a look. So this is literally the first run of Adobe Lightroom Classic CC. Nice new catchy graphic, and yes, I shall upgrade my catalogue. Hopefully the updating of the catalogue shouldn't take too long. This is a 2013 MacBook Pro. It's a little bit old, but quite possibly one of the best MacBook Pros there was before everything completely got scrambled around. I think I usually back up my catalogues about once a week. So we are going to literally do a live edit of an event I photographed last night. Photographed a party. Lightroom's now Classic, faster under the hood. Let's hope they use multiple cores this time. Faster room selection, embedded previews, fine control over section, range mask. Cool, got it, sweet. Okay, so in any given event, I will photograph probably about 300-400 photos in the space of 2 hours. It's not the best way to do it, but it's the kind of event work that I'm getting at the moment, so I can't really complain too much. What we're just going to do is a quick masking selection of everything, and hope that I can get this done quicker, or as quick as the old version of Lightroom that I've been using. I've had a CC for probably about 2 years now, and between that time I switched between using Lightroom and Capture One. I enjoyed using Capture One, however the price is quite a lot more than the Adobe package. I preferred the way that Capture One was rendering skin tones. There was a lot better control over certain functionalities, and it was generally quite a lot faster than Lightroom. So I'm hoping that the latest version of CC that's coming out is going to be quicker. It would be nice if they can use the multiple cores, which is one of the biggest complaints that people have said over the last couple of years, especially with the way that you've got multi-core machines, and Lightroom has not really utilized it to the best of the system's capabilities. And for someone who's photographing volume work, say e-commerce or event and wedding photographers, there's generally a large throughput of data that you want to put through, and ideally the quicker that you can do it, the better. I'm not saying that these kind of edits take a massive amount of time, but you know, if you can save 5 minutes per job over the course of, you know, a month or over several months, all those time savings add up, and you can eventually find yourself with a few extra free hours to invoice and admin, which is something that I'm a little bit terrible with, but hey, it is what it is. So I can hear the fan on my laptop is whirring up a little bit now. That never really was such a thing with the old version of Adobe. There must be some rendering in the background that's happening that I'm not too aware of. But generally there's not as much lag as I'm used to experiencing, so there must be some faster processing happening in the background, which is quite nice. And again, this is a really quick and nasty edit. It's not the kind of job that I want to put too much time into. For things like e-commerce or tethered shooting, things like that, there would be probably a lot more thought and consideration going into. But at the moment, I'm just selecting, you know, what are my favourite images out of the package and going from there. So that's me gone through 386 photos and distilling that down into 167. I've got my develop settings generally running automatically on import for this kind of work. It saves copying and pasting in the future, and let's just sync all that. Sync settings pretty quick. Let's syncing everything, it's pretty cool. So having gone through the first selection, now just run through, adjust the exposure really quickly, and hopefully, she didn't like that one. I don't like that one, but fuck it. This is one of the venues I photographed in last night. For some reason, the light technician has got a habit of going completely insane with the smoke and with completely bleaching everything out. It's either incredibly bright or incredibly dark, and there's no real in between. And then the moment you do get some form of usable light, the main dance floor is completely saturated with smoke, to the extent where the venue fire alarms go off a fair bit. So I'm just going to progress through this edit and we'll see what it's like on the export. One thing that has taken my interest is the MIDI controllers that I've seen some people use. It'd be nice to get some feedback to see what the general thoughts and feelings are on using those bits and pieces, especially for volume work such as this. So one thing I'm noticing with the preview rendering is generally there's a fair bit of noise that's happening up around sort of these values here, so they're going to be around about there on the histogram. That generally comes through as sort of colour noise and then quickly disappears. So it looks like it's luminance and colour noise all happening at the same time. That's shit. So I don't know if that's the noise reduction coming through on Lightroom side, or if it's something that's seen within camera that is then automatically corrected. But it is quite noticeable. I've seen, especially sort of in the shadow areas. The image preview rendering seems to be pretty rapid. Quite a noticeable improvement from the previous version of Lightroom. I don't think I was that on form last night with photographing that event. But all in all, so far the editing or the quick batch processing is pretty quick compared to the previous version of Lightroom. I mean, all the time I'm hearing the fan go in the background here, so my processor's kicking up around 44 degrees. So there is something fairly hefty happening in the background. So besides the color noise issue that I'm seeing around the shadows, particularly within these high ISO shots, I mean, these are typically shot around ISO 2050, 2500, sorry. Anyone that asks why I shoot that high on the ISO when I've got flash guns, if I'm shooting multiple events within an evening, I don't really want to carry bigger battery packs or more battery packs with me. So this is sort of a compromise between high ISO, low flash powered performance, so I can photograph a lot throughout the evening. Wow, he's pale. Yep, all the while, all I'm hearing is the processor go in the background, the fans go in the background. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. Cool. And so now we just, I send all my exports directly to Dropbox. There are times where I sometimes back up to hard drive, but it depends what I've got going on and the type of work that I have happening. So exporting 161 photos, that is quite literally an entire edit done within 15 minutes. Hopefully this shouldn't take too long on this side. And then I think in the next video we'll start looking at other tools within Lightroom for sort of, I don't want to say better work, but different kinds of work. All the toolbars seem exactly the same here. All the tone curves, hue, saturation, luminance, split toning, unsharp masking, lens corrections, transform effects. Oh yeah, okay, so we're up to different process version on the camera calibration. So that's going to handle colours slightly differently to how Lightroom has done previously, because I think we were on the old version 3 2012, if I remember correctly. I'll open up the old version of Lightroom and see what's happening there. None of my images are geotagged. This is generally everything's shot on a 5D Mark III for the event work. So nothing's been set up on that side, but you do have all the metadata options up on the side there. Book option, I've sort of reserved that for things like wedding work. I can send that out to publish a blurb, which are pretty decent. If you guys aren't familiar with blurb, they're definitely worth checking out. So it's prepared an entire book. Yeah, that's fine. Yep. Alright, so yeah, blurb. Cool. They've got blurb integration with that now. Oh, you can completely customize. Nice. I did not see that on the previous version, so that's good. And then you've got all the book options running through there. I think I'll do an in-depth breakdown on, I'll do a wedding photo album quite soon to have a little look through on everything with that. But the library module, the develop module, which are the most often used features, they generally look pretty identical. I've never used the face tool. I don't really want to identify people because I photograph lots of different events. It's just pointless setting that up. Print module. I don't think they would have changed too much around on this. I'm hoping that it's just going to be a lot of back-end tweaking that's been done. Let's just select one image. Yeah, all of the image handling items seem the same. Color management. That's pretty much the same on that side. And I use the print module if I'm creating a contact sheet. That's one thing that I've not noticed Lightroom do too well on, is the old versions of the contact sheets. They generally took quite some time to render, but general print resolutions, it seems okay now. So Lightroom Classic looks pretty much the same as the original Lightroom CC. I still have a fair selection of my presets. So I've got my art reproduction set if I'm photographing some artwork for a client. It's very accurate. Yeah, that's all working fine. Then my Visco presets, which I don't use too heavily anymore. I kind of got over that and just started playing around with settings myself. Noise handling seems pretty decent. Color tone and image rendition is looking okay. Yeah, granted these images are on the slightly more overexposed side of things, but it's what the clients and customers want. Skin tones actually look quite nice for once. Usually to get nice skin tones, what I have noticed is I have to play around with hue, saturation, luminance of a few different channels just to get everything looking nice, but I think straight off the bat this is looking quite tidy. So we've seen that Lightroom on the whole generally works a little bit quicker. What I have noticed is there is some background processes happening that may or may not be the screen recording, but that does slow it down ever so slightly. It may be worth following up at some point in the future to see if it's the screen recording that's slowing down Lightroom, but the processor fan has just completely been going non-stop throughout the entire editing process. Usually in the older version of Lightroom, I noticed the fans, they'd start usually within the export sequence, not within the actual developing and image manipulation sequence. So we have to see what's happening on there with that. I know in real world scenario, if I'm out and about and editing, that will have a detriment to my battery life. We just have to see if that's something that is managed further within the Lightroom settings. But on first impressions, Lightroom Classic is looking pretty okay. And yeah, I'll say it's worth the update compared to the original CC. Next video, I'm going to look at the new Lightroom CC Mobile Confusing Edition. I want to read further in depth to that and see what is being said and what can be achieved. But that wraps up this initial walkthrough and tutorial. I hope you guys have found it useful. If you've got any questions, drop me a shout, comments below, and I'll hopefully be able to respond as soon as possible. Take it easy. Bye.